Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I am Shenita Connolly, Dr. C, Dr. Connolly, or just plain Nita. I am glad that you are here with me this evening for a wonderful conversation, an important conversation about criminal law. I could not have thought of a better person to have this conversation with than attorney Tiffany Adams, who is, I call a bulldog, and I have not seen her in the courtroom, but I guarantee you, she is a force to be reckoned with. And so I want to have this candid conversation with her about criminal law. It's important to me because I've had a situation with my son in a criminal case, and he is serving time. There's some things I'm sure that I should have known before that situation happened so that we could have handled it even better than we did. But moving forward for you all and many others who will be watching this evening, we hope that you will benefit from this conversation. So, with that being said, you all know that I believe sharing is caring. So, if you would share this broadcast so that others will see it and hear it and it will bless them. Not only the content that we share this evening, but even the resource of Attorney Adams. So, let's talk a little bit about criminal law. You know, when you're facing the criminal charges, it can be very scary. When you are accused or someone you know that has been accused, and they may be facing a difficult and a confusing time that requires experienced, trustworthy guidance and knowledge. This means that choosing the right criminal defense attorney is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. This individual will be the one who represents you, represents your interest, makes arguments on your behalf, tells your story or your family member's story, refutes the prosecution's case, and creates an effective and winning defense. So, how do you find this person? What are the questions you need to ask them? What do you need to know? There are a few things that I think are very important for you to consider when you are choosing someone to represent you as a criminal defense attorney. The first thing is be certain of their experience. You want somebody that's experienced in the field and they really understand the rules of the game. You want to know their colleagues, maybe some of their partners, maybe get references. Look for a person who is confident. You want to make sure that they are confident in their position, in their role. Ask for their assessment. Beware fees, all of the fees up front so you understand what you're up against. Know who's working for you and who to ask. That's important. So, with that being said, that's just a few things that I have on my list. Location could be important to you, communication and accessibility, reputation, so many other things that you may want to consider as well. But I am going to invite my guest in, attorney Tiffany Adams from the Adams firm, to have this important conversation with this evening. So if you guys would, again, please like and share the broadcast because it is very important. I never would have thought that I would have had a son facing a criminal case in 2013. But we have weathered this storm for almost 10 years. And so I want to make sure on this broadcast that people are equipped in every area of life. And this is one that's important to me. So join me in welcoming Attorney Adams. Good
Hello,
evening,
good
Attorney
evening.
Adams.
Good evening. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for saying yes. I'm so grateful to have you this evening to have this conversation about criminal law. So, if you would please introduce yourself, Attorney Adams.
Okay, thank you. My name is Attorney Tiffany Adams. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. am the owner and managing attorney of the Adams firm. We practice criminal defense and personal injury. We do criminal defense in every county in Georgia. So if you call us and can afford to have us come down, we want to practice in every county. So I go everywhere. I am 43. I've been practicing now for almost 18 years. I attended the University of Georgia, go Dogs, for undergrad, and Georgia State University College of Law for law school. And I pledged Delta Sigma Theta, so I'm also a Delta.
Whoop, whoop. That is so exciting. I'm not a
Yeah.
Delta, but I'm rooting for him one day.
Yes, yes, yes. One day we can
So
improve it.
UGA undergrad.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
What took you to UGA?
You know what? I am not originally from Atlanta. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. We moved here when I was 14. And I remember being in a counselor's office in school, and all I ever knew was Alabama State or Alabama A&M. So that was my choices. And she said, look through the drawer and see if you see something else. And I looked through and I see University of Georgia. And that's when I applied. And when I visited the campus, that's all she wrote.
It was a good fit. Like I feel good.
Yes, it was gorgeous campus, fell in love with the school, and yeah, I've been Go Dogs ever since.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part of your history, so thanks for sharing that.
Yes, yes,
So, so almost 18 years. So
yes.
you started out right out of law school then.
Yes, I last year, well, first summer of my law school career, I started working at the Michael Law Firm, which was a real estate firm that did closings. And so I continued to work there. So I got the training to do closings, and that's what I did the year after graduation while I waited to be hired at the public defender's office. Like that's the only place I wanted to work because I wanted to do criminal defense. I
Mm,
knew I would be in a courtroom from day one and I would get a lot of experience and exposure. So I applied and I just kept checking in like every 3 months until an opening happened. And until then, I was just doing mobile closings all over Georgia.
wow.
Yep.
So tell us about this field of criminal law and a little bit more about why it piqued your interest.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have always wanted to be an attorney ever since I was 4 years old. I used
Really?
to visit my grandparents for summer and we would watch like Matlock and Perry Mason and LA Law. So that's always been what I wanted to do. So never had any other desires. High school was on mock trial, college, political science, criminal justice, so that was always the path and the goal. Um, for one little second, I thought about maybe entertainment law, but once I really learned what it was, I was like, no, I'm trying to be in the courtroom. I want to argue, save lives. So criminal defense was really my calling. So that's what I love to do. So all day long, I'm not ever going to stop until I'm not a lawyer anymore.
And you wake up every morning. You know, I have a cousin who has a catering business and she left corporate America to cook. She says she wakes up every morning loving what she does. So you
Yes.
wake up every morning, this is like a calling, like you feel like I'm supposed to do this every day.
Yeah. Every day. Like it doesn't matter how late I work. If it could be midnight or whatever, I go home, get rest, I'm up, and it's gonna start all over again. Like, yeah. I mean, I take my vacations to recharge, but I couldn't
Mhm.
see myself doing anything else. Like if I couldn't do this, I really would have to sit there and ponder, start over somewhere
Right.
else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love the balance that you have because you know you definitely have balance. I'm a Libra, and so it's important for me to have balance. So work and play. We must
Yes.
have balance.
Yes, I wasn't always that way, but
Wow.
the Lord has a way to get you there. So
Right.
a medical scare set me down for like a month, and that's when I realized how important balance was and to take care of myself as well as others. And so
Right.
ever since then, I take like a month off a year.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it. You know, I kind of talked a little bit about, you know, the importance of choosing an attorney, a criminal defense attorney, some things to consider.
Mhm.
Would you elaborate a little bit on suggestions for people as they are choosing someone like yourself? what questions they should be asking during the process of selecting someone, not feeling intimidated by an attorney because you are hiring them. So you are putting them in place to represent you. So chime in on that for me, please.
Yes, I think you should really look for someone who's experienced, knowledgeable of the law, and that is something you can tell in the phone call with them. When people call me, I really like to be in front of my computer when I take the call so I can look up the case if they've been arrested, see what the charges are, so we can really discuss what stage you are in the process and I can really provide you great advice. So the phone call is not just, oh, do you do this? How much you charge? This is it. Bye. I need to know more about you. What
Mhm.
happened? How did the arrest occur? Sometimes I'm drawn to cases based off what I hear about the person. If it's somebody young, first arrest, it may lead me to, feel differently about the case, charge differently, just anything. So you really want to have a conversation with the person. Choose someone you vibe with. You want to choose someone that hears you and sees you. You want to choose someone that you can tell they're passionate about getting you the results or trying to get you the results that you desire. Someone who keeps it real. Like I'm very honest all the time with my clients
Mhm.
from the
Mhm.
first conversation, the first
Mhm.
phone call,
Mhm.
set expectations. And you want someone you can trust because you are really putting your life in this person's hands. So
Yes.
you really just want to have a conversation and then make that decision. So it's so funny that we're talking about this. A classmate yesterday posted, like, who would you call if you had an accident? And it was like the attorneys that you hear with the jingles. And then I'm
Right.
like, call me. And another classmate is chiming in, and we're like, hopefully people look past, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those attorneys who have the jingles, but look past it and look at the attorney themselves and
Mhm.
make the determination if that's who you want to have represent you.
Mhm. Mhm. That's great advice. When my son had his case back in 2013, I reached out to someone that I respected and asked, for a few recommendations. And the person that they recommended was someone that I knew who had a great reputation. And and I'm sure he did do some work on this case for us, and there were a lot of charges that were dismissed, but there were some things that I wish could have gone differently. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on tonight to kind of share with the people things that they really need to think about when they're choosing someone to represent them. What are some questions they should be asking? What type of person, what's that process? Because we hear a lot of people say, I met with the attorney, but I didn't they won't answer my calls, they won't give me updates, and they're frustrated about the process. And it seems like you're hands on
Yes.
with your
Yes.
client.
Yes, and we're busy here as well, but I have staff that will answer the phone every time it rings. We will communicate with each other so that we can share updates with the clients. We
Mhm.
have a online case management system, so whenever I receive discovery about the case, it's uploaded so the client sees it when I see it, so you don't
Awesome.
have to not understand or know what is going on with their case. Is there a portal that you can send messages through to communicate
Awesome.
with us about your case. We also have a text message system. So when there's their weekly reminder about a court date that's coming up, you'll get a text message to remind you, that kind of thing. So we try to stay in communication with
Yeah.
clients. Now, a lot of times, nothing is happening on the case. And so frustration for a client may be, look, my arrest was 2, 3 years ago. What's going on?
Mhm.
And the simple answer is COVID has bagged up the court system and it will be that way for a while and nothing is happening. So I don't have an update. I'm sorry. So sometimes that can be frustrating to people who have a criminal case pending, but
Mhm.
in reality, that's just where we are right now.
Wow, I never really thought about it from that perspective. So thank you for sharing that. And so that
Yeah.
gives people a sense of, can you calm down?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah,
So
really.
when COVID happened, what, February, March, the court system shut down. I think it was like March 13th or something like that, or
Yes,
24th, for an
yes.
entire year, a little past to May of the following year. So no indictments were occurring, no real no trials, no real hearings, first appearance, and maybe like probation revocation, something you had to do legally in a certain time frame. But other than that, nothing else could occur. So, but
Mhm.
people continuously got arrested every day. So, if a county like Fulton County gets 10,000 arrests, just misdemeanor every year, just imagine if I can't do anything with those cases, it's a backlog and they're continuing to happen. So, people just have to be patient and I don't know when it's going to catch up, but just be patient.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure that's an issue for many.
it
So,
is.
what are your thoughts on hiring or having a public defender?
Okay.
Where do you sit with that?
So I'm glad you asked. So I'm a little biased, a little maybe about this question. I think it really comes down to the person. So I was a public defender for 8 years, and I am the same attorney as a private attorney as I was as a public defender. I always went above and beyond for every client, represented them like family, even then. So that's a big part of it. So there are some great public defenders. So I'm never going to say no to a public defender.
Mhm.
If you're charged with a crime like murder, child molestation, rape, um, armed robbery, something like that with a mandatory sentencing, and you cannot afford a really good private attorney, you're better off with a public defender because their office will have resources financially to pay for the experts needed in like a rape case and a child molestation case. You're going to need a forensic interview and a polygraph done maybe and somebody to review the video from the child. So you're going to need those experts. And if you can't afford an attorney and pay those fees, you're better off with the public defender's office in those cases. Now, there are times when I'm going to say that as a public defender, I only did misdemeanors. I would not have desired to be in felony public defender's office because I couldn't imagine having 10, 15, 20 murder cases at a time, right? So if you can afford it, if you can take out a loan on your home or something like that, then yeah, I'm going to say you're charged with murder. You all really want to fight it. Yes, you need to get an attorney, a private attorney. You're going to
Mhm.
have more access to them. You're going to be able to get in touch with them. They're going to be able to spend more time on your case only because they don't have 20 other murder cases.
Mhm.
So, there's pros and cons to it, but you don't go get a murder case attorney for $10,000. So,
Right.
you have to consider that if you're going to do it, it's going to cost you 50, 75, $100,000. And if you don't have that to commit, then you get a public defender. They have a boss. So if your public defender is inadequate, you can always reach out to a supervisor and hopefully you don't land with an inadequate public defender, but I'm not going to bash them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, there are pros and cons to that. But I will advise you to always have an attorney when you go to court. Like people think
Mhm.
that because they can Google stuff or whatever and they see videos or people represent themselves in serious cases that they can
Mhm.
just do it, but simple things like traffic offenses that you think you can handle can have a negative effect on you for long term. Take
Mhm.
for instance hit and run. You could leave the scene of an accident. That charge in traffic court, even if you plead no low, will suspend your license for 6 months. Did you know that? No. So don't
Wow.
try to go in there and represent yourself. So if
Mhm.
someone asks me, you should always have an attorney. So if you can afford to have a private attorney and a good one, then yes, that's a choice. But serious charge, you can't afford it. Nothing's wrong with a public defender.
Have you had I know people always talk about if I, put my house up as collateral, I don't want to lose my home and
Mhm.
all of that. Has that ever been a situation with you over the years, over these almost 18 years?
No, I have never had someone put their house up for someone and they skip bill. So no, I never had that happen. Now, I have had people pay money, to up for people and then they don't come to court or stuff like that and then they get the phone calls to track them down, but never anyone losing any property or anything like that.
That's a good thing.
Because I mean, you gotta think about it. I'm a private attorney, so if the family's paying me thousands of dollars to represent you, 9 times out of 10, everyone's gonna make sure you show up to court.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Do your part.
yes,
Um,
yes.
so as an individual who, my son is serving time for criminal case
Mhm.
where he was not at fault directly,
Okay.
but the law says because you are party to a crime,
Yes.
you are charged as if you did commit the crime. Um, as an individual, as a supporting person, and as the individual in the case, what is their role? Our role. What is our role in our case?
Okay. Glad you asked. So, the role of the client would be
Mhm,
to be truthful with your attorney, although that rarely occurs when someone's 100% truthful, right?
mhm,
Give them as much information you can. If you have anything that would be of value evidence wise to the case, share that with your attorney and listen to your attorney
mhm,
and do what your attorney says. That's pretty much all I need the client to do
mhm,
and to pay their fee.
mhm,
Let me
mhm,
take care of the rest.
mhm,
you know, so there's nothing else I really need you to do. Just let me sit back, relax, and take my advice
mhm.
and let me do my thing.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to choose the right attorney.
Yes.
So you can be
Yeah.
comfortable with them taking on that role to work
Exactly.
on your behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
I, I promise you, I wish I knew you in 2013.
Oh, I do too. Because as we talked yesterday about your son's case, I was able to
Yes,
share at the same time. I was able
yes.
to share the case similarly, like that, resolved in a better way. But what you
Hmm.
brought up was party to a crime, and let's speak on that because there are a
Yes.
lot of people who get caught up in criminal charges, not because they were the one that had the weapon, not because they were the one that pulled the trigger, not
Mhm,
because they were the one that actually went into the establishment and committed the robbery, but because they were driving the car, drove the car after, were at the house that they came to after to dispose of whatever,
mhm,
involved in
mhm,
some other part
mhm,
of it. And so you were
mhm,
a party to the crime,
mhm,
and therefore you will be charged with everything that everybody's charged with. So I
mhm.
know young kids probably don't remember Menace to Society, but our
Right.
age group we do, right? So if
Mhm,
you go into the liquor store with your friend and he goes up and commits the robbery and y'all leave together and dispose of things after, like you're just as guilty as that person is, although you didn't go in with those intentions, nor did you pull the trigger. So the
mhm,
getaway driver goes to jail as well. Like everybody gets in trouble. So a lot of times I try to preach this to kids to watch who you hang with. It's so important. Your parents aren't just being annoying when they tell you this because you can be the straight A student because I have represented them, the
mhm,
straight A student being recruited by colleges to go play ball. And because you wanted to be with your friends who wanted to go fight people who arguing about something you have nothing to do with, and somebody dies, now you are all charged with felony murder and you're
yes.
facing the rest of your life in prison. And
Mhm,
it's so sad, but every week in Metro Atlanta now, a 17 to 23-year-old is being sentenced to life. Promise you. Because they are committing seven deadly sins, the armed robberies, murders, hijackings.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
scary. So,
mhm,
you really have to be careful who you allow your kids to be around and who you allow them to have friendships with.
mhm.
We just need to kind of get back to the old school parenting where kids really had a curfew. I
Yes,
represent
yes,
18-year-olds who are outside at 2:30 a.m. convene. I'm like, I don't understand it. I had to be in the house to 12 until I graduated high
yes,
school. So we need to
yes.
go back to that.
Go back to that.
More house parties, please.
Mm,
Like these
yes.
kids, so many kids have weapons. It's just I
It,
could go
and,
on.
and look, and I tell you, my son, and I'll share this here, was 26 years old, and the friend that came and picked him up that evening was someone in the 11th grade that I told my son to stay away from, right?
Mhm.
And fast forward all the way to 26, you just got off work, you took a shower, got dressed, looking sharp. I'm thinking your friends coming to get you, y'all going to the club. My husband and I would go out of town this Saturday morning. The next morning, we get a call on Monday that the SWAT team is at my house. Can you imagine what that felt like? And I remember my friend Judge Deborah Benefield. Um, I used to take my summer camp kids to her courtroom, and she would step down after all of her cases were over for pretrial hearing to talk to the kids about the new laws. She would talk to them about all the crimes, the seven deadly sins, give them great advice. And so for my son to fast forward to get in trouble was devastating with someone that I told you to stay away from, who I knew was a problem. So you're right. We do need to make sure that our children are um, doing other things. And sometimes we can't protect them after they become adults. I
No.
realize that. I did protect him as he was a young man, but as an adult, you allowed yourself to get caught up in some foolishness. But today I was at my youngest granddaughter's school, and some 4-year-olds were walking down the hall, and one kid said, "Get your to the other kids in the line." And I was thinking, young man, listen, this is the teacher in me. Young man, did I just hear you say that?
I know, right? I know you want to snatch him up.
Did I just he looked at me quiet and ran in the room, and I told the director, "You need to have a conversation with that young man's parents."
Yes, get him
And
in line now.
he was running, so the other kid made sure the director knew which kid it was. But those are the kinds of things that we need to be mindful of. We need to, watch what we do, what we say around our children, because when they're not around us, they're repeating what we have demonstrated, which
Yes.
leads to issues down the
Yep.
road.
Yep.
In
What we
some cases, not all cases.
not
In,
all, but yeah.
in some cases, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's great advice. Are there alternatives to going to court and to trial in some of these cases?
For first time offenders, you kind of run out of those chances the more you get in trouble. But there are things like pretrial diversion that a lot of counties will offer to people with their first arrest, where they will divert your case from the normal track and send it to a program. Once you complete the program, it could be community service or some type of class, pay a fine or a fee, and then the case will be dismissed and restricted, which is the new expunged from your record. And so you only get a chance at that once. Sometimes I could get it a second time, depending on the charges, but most times that's just for your first arrest. Um, there is a process that is called a warrant application process, where let's say you call the police out, they don't feel like it's enough evidence to go forth with the case, but you want to still pursue the case. You can go down to the magistrate court and apply for a warrant. They'll send notice to the other party, and then you all will have a hearing before the court to determine whether or not that person will be arrested. They offer mediation at those type of hearings to allow the persons to try to work it out before they go forth with a hearing to avoid arrest. So those are the one or two ways, and the other is just to stay out of trouble, right? Don't get
Plain
in
and
trouble.
simple. Plain and simple.
Because it is really hard to get out of the system once you're in it. If you do a serious enough offense and end up on probation, and you have to be good for 5 years or 10 years, that's hard to do in the sense of never having police interaction, because just a arrest for DUI, which is something that can occur to anyone, can violate that probation. So now you're in trouble for the original sentence, and now you got new time for the new sentence. And then it just is a cycle that continues. So if I get a client that I can help to not ever get into the system, then that is my goal. So when I first get a case, I look at it to see, how can I get it dismissed? If not dismissed, how can I get you the least punishment, the least amount of time into this system, so that you won't get caught up in this cycle.
Right.
So
I definitely think about my son often, although he's older. He's 10 years older now. He's 36, and he has 5 more years still. But I oftentimes think about when he comes home, what that will be like for him, right? Um, and also, when you mentioned diversion, I actually was one of the first people to start a diversion program with the University of Georgia Extension in Clayton County back in 2004
wow.
through Judge Stephen Teskey.
Okay.
And so I ran that program for many, many, many years in the county. And you're right, those kids were assigned to either trespassing,
Mm-hmm.
theft,
Mm-hmm.
shoplifting, and
Yes.
um,
Mhm.
and we required their parents to come to the workshop with them.
Oh, that was good.
And the
Yeah,
parents didn't like it because it was on a Saturday and it was all day.
I
But
bet.
but we would always tell them, I promise you, when you leave this class, you will be glad that you came, because it's not just for your child. We created it in such a way that not only the child benefited, but the parents did too. So we would have breakouts.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
right. And so, because a lot of times you just said, a lot of times it's the lack of parenting skills and things of that nature. So it was really, really, I thought, a beneficial program, and I think it may still be going on today.
Okay.
But yeah, but I was grateful to be a part of that program
Yeah,
startup back in the
it's
day.
so important. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
important.
So let's kind of continue on this conversation about what has been the most rewarding part of your journey as a criminal defense attorney.
Hmm.
What has that been like for you? Like, give us and I don't know if you can do a recap, of wins versus losses, or
Hmm.
um and that kind of goes into the next question that I have. Can you put those two together and kind of just share with us in your own way?
Yeah. So it's been very rewarding to be able to save people's lives really with
Mhm.
their cases. Like only God truly saves, but he allows me to be able to do that with their criminal cases. So I was sharing with you as we were getting ready to get started about a rape case that I had a trial on,
Mhm.
I believe, and it's coming up because my Facebook posts leading up to it are starting to come up in my memories. So I
Mhm.
think it was like 2018, and the case was ridiculous in nature. I got a phone call from my line sister. Hey, I got a young man's never been in trouble before. He's got a charge of rape. What happened? He was having an argument with his girlfriend, some physical, and his phone butted out the police. They believed they heard a rape occurring, and that is how they prosecuted the case. Even though the victim informed them when they finally showed up an hour and a half later, because they had to do the triangulation and all this kind of stuff to find where the call was coming from, because neither party intentionally called the police. So there was no follow up call, right? And so they finally show up, and this is how they investigate the case. And even though the victim is saying, no, I didn't, they believe the screams and what they hear on the tape is a rape. And so that's how they prosecute the case. So, right, just how you're looking ridiculous, right? So when I get
Mhm.
the call to help out, I'm like, sure. Oh, he doesn't have much money. I'll charge like $2,500. This clearly is just going to be a couple of conversations with the DA's office to inform them of the facts of the case, right, and get them to see what's going on, right? And this is going to be dismissed, and that is not what occurred. They wanted full steam ahead to go to trial on a rape charge, and the offer I think was 10 years to serve, which was ridiculous for someone who is completely innocent of what they're being charged with. So he had to go to trial. If he had been found guilty, he would have had to serve 25 years. The judge would have had no leeway of what she could have sentenced him to. So I was a nervous wreck. I didn't eat that whole week. Lost like 12 pounds during this case. And we got the jury to come back in 37 minutes with a not guilty. And when I tell you, I just worked and prayed leading up to it. And it was just like tears of joy. So
Mhm.
to have those moments, to be able to represent someone, who is truly innocent, and to be able to get the results. So those moments. Or I just had a case in Rockdale County where the client was on social media, ended up on a dating site, met a female. They started communicating. They met up a couple times. They had sex one of the occasions. Comes to find out, she is 14 years old and lying about her age to the client, on the app, to the police when they show all of that. She's just lying about her age. So he is charged with aggravated child molestation, which is a life sentence, and statutory rape. We go to trial. I go to first appearance. the arraignment hearing, and the prosecutor tells me I'll dismiss the aggravated child molestation if he pleads to 10 years to serve. Like, what is his first arrest? Never been in trouble, great kid, college educated, working in IT field, successful, traumatized by the fact that he is being charged with these crimes because that never was the intent. And so I told the prosecutor, let me get to work. Came back to the office, had my staff go through the discovery. My lovely assistant, Sharika, was able to find communication where this female had done this over and over and over. And there were like 8 or 9 times where her mom would find her talking to overage guys and lying about her age. Presented that to the prosecution. Those charges were dismissed, and we took a plea to an unrelated charge that is straight probation of 5 years. His record was sealed the day we took the plea in court. It's not showing up on his record. No sex offense, none of that. So it's those moments, that I know that I'm serving my purpose and that I love that I'm able to see, and people say, well, how can you do these cases? How can you do these cases? So I had a case in Butts County, Georgia. It was a long time ago, maybe like 2012, 13, where 3 brothers were arrested and charged with trafficking drugs. They were adamant from our first conversation that they were innocent. And while they did have all the weapons that were found in the car, which were legal without the drugs, they were adamant the drugs were not theirs. And so I'm like, well, okay. When someone tells you that, you're like, okay, let's see, right? So I get the tape, and the officer who pulled them over calls a narcotics officer to the scene. He takes 45 minutes to search the vehicle, finds 3 weapons, even one they had hidden in the air filter under the hood, under the engine, the hood of the car, and no drugs. So he throws his hands up and walks off, gets on the phone, and he's over it. The officer that originally pulls them over comes back to the vehicle, leans his body far into the car, and then comes up and calls the officer back over, leans back in and pulls up a big bag of pills, or like 500 pills. So I'm with the brothers now, right? The officer planted the drugs. So I have conversations with the DA about it, tell him what I believe. We're going to go to trial on the case. He worked months to convince me to just give him one of the brothers. If one of them pled, he would leave the other ones alone. His offer started with 12 to 8. The day we show up to trial, he comes to me and says, look, just give me one of the brothers, 8 to 4, and I'll let the other 2 go. I said, we're going to trial. He says, don't do any more work. What does that mean? I've been working all weekend. Like, we're here for trial. Our trial gets called, and the head DA, his boss, stands up and says, Judge, we got to dismiss this case. There's been a mix-up in the evidence room. Thus meaning the officer did plant the drugs, right? And you're not going to go forth with the case for trial. But literally 10 minutes before you dismiss it, you asked me to allow one of them to plead to 8 years to serve for. So I can do my job all day long, no problem, because that happens every day somewhere. And so to be able to stop that from happening to someone and be able to protect their rights and fight for their rights is why I love doing this.
Wow.
Crazy? I know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it to ourselves. It's happening.
Yes. It's happening.
Wow.
So I see stuff like that. And I remember another case where I had a client that had a praying family. I mean, the entire family. And he was charged with bank robbery, actually about 3 of them. And he got arrested, let's say like May. We went to his first court date in October of that, like few months later, and we're there for a bond hearing. I know the prosecutors. I had worked with her in another county, and his family's in the back of the courtroom praying the entire time. And the prosecutor turns to me and she's like, why are y'all here? And I said, we're here for a bond hearing. And she says, oh, well, why don't we skip bond and I just give you an offer on the case? I said, okay. I'm with my mentor. He's partnering with me on the case. We're like, okay. And she flips through the file, 4 bank robberies. Now, he didn't have a weapon, no weapon involved. And she says, his first arrest, I'll do, if we can do 10, do 2. How does that sound? 10 years to do 2.
Mhm.
We said, yeah. I mean, we wanted to say yes. We said,
Okay.
let us talk to the family. Let's talk to the client.
Right.
Got everybody in the back room. And it's just like, praise God. Like this. So those are the things that I get to witness and
Woo.
see. Right. So fast forward a couple of weeks, we take the plea on that case. And I actually just got his probation terminated this year. His record's clear. Never got anything else. So praise God to that. But I
Yes.
saw the prosecutor in the hallway and she says, you know what? I went home and told my husband, I don't know why I did that on that case. And I'm like, that was God,
With the
you
Holy
know? So it's
Spirit.
those moments, yeah,
Yes.
those moments
Yes.
make this so
Wow.
rewarding. Yeah, yeah,
What a blessing. What a
yeah,
blessing. So I would say that you've had probably more wins than losses along the journey.
yes. But I've had some losses now. We lost
Right,
some
right,
murder
right.
trials last year. So I've had losses, but I have a lot of wins. So I don't have a win-loss. You know, I remember the big losses because they're not many. But we get a lot of wins. So we get a lot of stuff dismissed. I get a lot of stuff reduced down, DUIs reduced to reckless, a lot of those. So have I tried 1,000 cases? No, because I haven't had to. And that's a blessing.
Mhm.
I'm able to get great resolutions before we get to that point. So if anything's a slam dunk my way, I've gotten it dismissed before we get to that point.
That's awesome.
So, you know, if we're going to trial, it's just something that needs, you know, we just couldn't work out, or you're true is one of like the rape case where I just got some crazy DAs on the other side and we just got to go, we got to go
Mhm.
show them, right?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
never still want to be in that point because it's up to the jury to decide and your
Mhm.
life is truly in their hands. So, yeah.
Wow. This has been a wonderful conversation about criminal law. I think it's important also that people understand the laws of the states they reside in.
Yes, because they
Yeah.
differ.
And that was
Mhm,
one of the things in those diversion classes. We would make sure that they had the understanding, the information in
right.
their hands before they walked out to understand what the laws are. Because some people don't even know, even in the state of Georgia, that having sex underage is a crime, right?
Yeah, it is. The age of consent is 16. So anyone under the age of 16 having sex, that is a crime. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing that affect kids now in school is that texting nudes and sending nude pictures to each other because you're a child. So that's child pornography. So
Mhm.
even if you all are in middle school or early years in high school and you're texting your little boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, sexy,
Mhm.
risque pictures,
Mhm.
that's against the law. And
Yeah.
so kids are getting in trouble for that. You know, if you take a girl sends a picture to one guy and then that guy sends it to everybody else, like all of you all are passing child pornography. So
Exactly.
that is something that parents need to really tell
Talk
their
about.
kids about. And the two biggest things, I mean, most crimes are going to be the same everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Armed robbery, murder, drug trafficking, that stuff is illegal everywhere.
Mhm.
The two
Mhm.
biggest things I tell people to kind of research is marijuana. Is it legal where you're going? Because it's legal in a lot of states, 30 something, I believe now, but
Mhm.
not Georgia.
Mhm.
Even though people think it is, it's not.
Mhm. Mhm.
So marijuana is still illegal in Georgia.
Because look, because you can still be driving down the interstate and a car pass by you and you smell like what, what?
I know. I always have clients tell me, they're like, man, they took me to jail. I ain't have nothing but a little bit of weed. I'm like, it's still illegal. So you
Understand?
cannot just have a little bit of weed. So it's illegal. Can you have medicinal marijuana? If you have a card, a medical marijuana card, it approves low THC oil. Doesn't give you the right to just drive around with an ounce of marijuana in Georgia.
Mm.
Now, other states you can. So I say Google that for the state you're going to, and then the gun laws. That's important as well because those differ from state to state. So if you're traveling, driving somewhere,
Mhm.
Google the gun laws of the states that you have to go through just so
Mhm.
you can be on the safe side to know if you have to have it unloaded, where you need to have it. So I think those are the two biggest things. Everything else is a crime everywhere.
Mhm. That mm, that's some good advice.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want us to shift just a little bit
Okay.
because I want you to share, because you have been such a motivation to me from day one that I was introduced to you through social media in 2020.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that, your friends or those who are watching the show tonight are really enjoying this information, which I thought is very important. That's why I
Yes.
wanted you to be here to share. But I want you to share on a personal tip, because
Mhm.
as we are trying to become knowledgeable of criminal law, we are
Mhm.
trying to become a better version of ourselves in this cold, cold world that can be sometimes. But there's so much that we can do to become a better version of ourselves. And you certainly have been an inspiration to me for about 3 years.
Thank
And,
you.
and so I want to say thank you publicly. I've said it privately, but I want to say thank you publicly to you for introducing me to the 40-day turn up. I want to just say thank you for coaching me along the way. Thank you for being an example. So I want you to share with the audience about your initiative of being the fit attorney.
Yes, the
Yeah,
fit lawyer.
the fit.
Yes,
Yes.
fit lawyer. Yes. So not until you said 3 years that I looked down at the date, and it is exactly 3 years from the day that I had my come to Jesus moment and was crying at the house and got on the scale and had gotten to be 375.5 pounds. So that
Woo.
was the day that, yeah, girl, a hot mess. And so struggled with weight kind of like all my life, but not to the point where I was 375. That came, those last few years is when it got out of control. I always focused on everybody else and not putting enough time and love into
Mm,
myself and
mm,
not really knowing how to get control of it once it got out of control. So I was just like, whatever. And then COVID shut down and court stopped, and I don't have anybody to focus on but myself. And that's when you start seeing everything, all your problem areas, what you need to work on. And so that's when I just had to get real with myself and got on the scale. And once I did, I got on Facebook, saw the 40-day turn up that day, signed up for the process, and got to walking, just moving 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back. Started to make slight changes in my diet until the process started. And then once I started that process, we started July 4th or July 6th, something like that. It was just hitting the ground running. It's been amazing. Thank you for sharing that I have been able to inspire you. Like, and it's so crazy because it's COVID was going on, so nobody was seeing
yep.
me in the house, right? So the gyms are closed. All everybody's in the house. So we finished the process. It was like a 6-week process. So we ended, I think, like the middle of August. And at first I wasn't going to post because even though we started July 6th, thank you, Andre. Um, so after losing 33 pounds in the process and the 16 I had before, I was still 300 and like, 20 something pounds, right? So that's still a lot. So I was like, I don't know if I want to post yet because that's a big number, right? So when my friends were like, no, go ahead and post and share, you could inspire somebody. And that's where it started. I made one post. I don't think I didn't put my starting weight in that first post. I just was like, I lost 33 pounds in this process, and I had my pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got to like 299, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm away from 300s.
Right.
So I started
Yes.
at 375.5. Yes. So it took a year, a month, and 12 days for me to lose 150 pounds. And I pretty much still been able to maintain that weight of 220, 225. So I am working since this January on the new goal of toning, really getting muscular and toning up. So I've stepped up my training harder, 5 days a week, well, 4 training days and boot camp on Saturday. And so that's just been a journey, but it has really just been amazing. I've the smallest I've been in my adult life, so that is something new. Had to learn how to shop all over again. What stores do I go to, ladies? I was just doing Lane Bryant, I'm like, where I
Right.
go? Where I get
Right.
my keys? Where I get
Right.
my bra? I had to learn all of that over, so it was kind of scary at first. I have a wonderful
Mm.
stylist and my line sister, Nicole. So she's helps, and another sorority sister. So I used to just text them like, how does this look? How does this look?
Right.
Helping me
Right.
find that new style.
Right.
Just been going back, like redoing things or doing things that I wasn't able to do because of my size. Just living life, enjoying it,
Yes.
and move better and faster in the courtroom. It's a difference now, like I was still fly back then, but I mean, it's just a
Right.
different
Different.
vibe in it
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So,
Because because one day you had on was it a blue dress? Was it a blue dress? And you said that you were in the court or and people you were going across the street and people you were getting
Oh,
attention
yeah, the
everywhere.
lady, yeah, actually, it was this suit. I had on this suit, and she stopped the car. And she said, "Baby, you wearing that dress?" So things like that, right? And then I really
Yes.
people perceive you differently when you're
Yes.
overweight, right?
Yes.
They can say
They do.
that's not that they perceive you when you're overweight, that you're lazy or
You don't
that you're
care about the self.
unmotivated. You
Hmm.
don't know what you're talking about. You're not
Hmm.
as good as you have to be so much better than everyone else to, for people to respect you the same. So that is, I don't have that to worry about. You're hearing me,
Yes.
you're seeing me,
Yes.
receiving me from day one.
Yes.
So it's just, I love it. No more seatbelt extenders, like, and
No.
then being able to inspire people. And it's really not just about the way I look, but my health. My numbers are better. I didn't have any medical conditions that required me to be medicated at the time. Like I did have a lot of GERD issues, but I wasn't on any prescription medication. I didn't have high cholesterol or high blood pressure, but it was coming. I was
Right.
starting to have like chest tightness at night or whatever.
Mhm.
So I know it was coming.
Mhm.
So, but to be able to inspire people that do have those conditions to be able to get on this healthy track, because that's what the process does. It educates you as you came through it. It educates you about nutrition and about health and wellness and about how to eat for your body. For us, as Black people, we don't really have health champions teaching us how to have, better nutrition and stuff. So the
Yeah.
process really helped me do that. So it's really been able to be a leader in the process
Yes.
continuously since coming through it. So I just finished leading my seventh session group. So it's just been amazing. It's
Yes.
just been amazing life.
I'm just so grateful, that you were able to, snatch me up into this last program. And although I think I could have pushed harder, I know I could have pushed
Hmm.
harder, and
Hmm.
I'm on to the next phase, but it really was an awakening. It really taught you so much about yourself. And if you follow the protocol,
Yes.
it's thinkless, it's
Yes.
mindless. It's
Yes.
like, and
Yes.
like you said, when you get off track,
Yep.
you know how to
Get back.
go back. You know how to go back
Yes.
and
Yeah.
reset yourself. And
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
feels so good to be in a new place
Yeah.
of my life as well, mentally and physically. And so I
Yeah.
just thank you for sharing your journey, because it was because you shared your journey on the book in 2020 that I saw
Yeah.
you moving, and I was like, wow. And then I saw you, just evolve into this new person.
Yeah.
So,
Basically.
so I'm so glad that you said yes to your friends who said post.
Yeah, me too. And I've always been an open book, but it was just like that was a big one, like even because in the process he has us do the never again pictures and we have to put
Yes.
our weight. And like that night, it was hard to do that because I was 350, I think 9 when I was weighing in for that part. And
Mhm.
so I was telling my team, I cannot put this on this picture and put it up for 400 some people to see. And they were like, one of my teammates said, "You walk out the house with that weight every day. We see you already." I said, "Ouch." But you're so right. So quit
Let me
tripping and
put
let's
this
go.
picture. Let me put this
Let's go.
picture up and
Right.
stop playing.
Yeah, exactly. And then like walking in my neighborhood and stuff, I would always have my neighbors would come out and be rooting me on and honking and stopping. And
Mm,
then when the weight really started coming off, because I really walked the first 50 off. That's
I
everything
remember it.
down. And so my neighbors is saying like, "Oh my God, I can see the difference." And my shadow in the sun is getting smaller and smaller. Like I laugh now when I
Right.
walk. Like when I
Right.
first started, that
Like, is
shadow
that
was
you? Is that
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yes. And
So
definitely
it's
the
been amazing.
shopping. Like, you don't have to go to Lane Bryant. I don't have to go to
Oh,
Lane Bryant.
I remember as a
Oh,
child, my mom and I going shopping, and me getting to the age and size where she was like, "I know you want to go to New York and Company, but we got to go over here," because they were right across the hall from each other. You got to go
right.
to Lane Bryant because even though I was in a 14, I wasn't in a Miss 14. I was in a plus size 14.
Right. Right.
So I remember that. And I was still in high school, so
Mhm.
it's been amazing. When I
Yes.
recorded everything like the first 2 years when I could shop on the middle level of Macy's and didn't have to go downstairs to the plus size. I'm recording it because it was just amazing.
It's a great feeling.
It was
It's a
amazing.
great, it's a
Yeah.
great feeling. And
Yeah.
so I'm moving forward. My goal was to get under the 200 pounds. I should have been way under, but I still have about 50 more pounds that I want to lose.
Okay, you got it. You got the process. He teaches us everything we need to know. So
Mhm,
that's the most empowering part of the process
mhm.
is learning how to control your weight. So I
Yeah.
know what it takes to gain, I know what it takes to lose, and I
Yep.
know that I don't ever have to worry about not being able to control it ever again. So that's
Because
like a big part of it. So you know
we
what
are
to
equipped.
yes. You
We
just
are
got to do
equipped
it.
on
You
so
just got to
many levels. That series was
yeah.
it was a godsend on
Yeah.
not just the weight loss, but
Yeah.
like the health aspect of it was so
Yes.
deep. The
The
master
pre-work.
classes.
Yes, the pre-work he does the 4 weeks to 6 weeks leading up before we even talk about a food
Not
is what really makes the change
priceless.
because it starts in the mind. So
Woo.
I could give you any meal plan, but if you couldn't follow it until your mind was
Yes.
prepared to receive it. So
Receive.
he has an amazing process. Shout out
Yes.
Dr. Joe.
Yes. Shout out to Dr.
Yes, if
Joe.
you want to find
Okay.
out anything about the process, look up Dr. Joseph L. Williams on Facebook. Follow him, journeylife.tv on
Yes.
every social media site. That's
Yes. Yes.
journeylife.tv. Look it up.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes,
So again, thank you.
yes. Thank
It
you.
is, we have 3 minutes, but I want you to share some parting words.
Okay.
Whether
Okay.
you give them where you are located.
Hmm.
I know it's been scrolling along the bottom of the screen,
Hmm.
but whatever you want to say to the audience, I want you to say it.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, we are in Atlanta, Georgia. If you need an attorney, reach out. The number is going across, but it's 404-507 ATTY. It's just some parting things. If you are stopped by the police and arrested for a crime that you're being investigated for or whatever, be quiet. Do not talk to the police ever. Be quiet. Like that's the first thing I want to say. Shut up. Like just be quiet. A lot of cases are lost in that first interview people do with police. I don't care what they say. They are legally allowed to lie to you during interrogation. They are legally allowed to make up stuff, tell you somebody else already told on you to get you to talk. They're able to do that. So be quiet, don't talk.
Mm, mm,
If they're asking questions, 9 times out of 10, they're still investigating, still trying to put stuff together, and your statement will be used to tie the case together. I didn't always know this, but I know it, as an attorney, this is one thing people really need to do. Also, if they call and say, hey, I want you just to come down and talk and just tell us what's going on in this case. We don't have a warrant or anything like that. Don't go because if they do have probable cause to get a warrant and just haven't gotten it yet, you can never talk yourself out of probable cause. People think they can talk themselves out of things. Like you cannot. All you will do is provide an alternative theory that'll be argued at trial. So be quiet. Don't talk to the police, period.
mm, mm, mm.
If you're getting a call, parents, because I know it's happening to parents all across this city now, you're getting a knock on the door, the text with trying to talk to your kids, or you're getting that phone call, get their information and consult with an attorney to give you an advice. If you call me, I'm 9 times out of 10 going to say we're not going to talk, but I at least will communicate with the detective and tell them we will turn such and such in if you get a warrant. If not, have a good day. That's all that needs to be said. But immediately reach out to an attorney before you try to schedule some sit down. I know that some parents get the call and they're like, oh, my child's a straight A student and he's never been in trouble. So it'll be fine. We'll just go down and talk. And it's at that moment that they pull out a tape that you weren't aware about, knowing that your kid was around somebody that did something or something on their phone. Like always consult an attorney. If you have criminal case or charges, consult an attorney before you go to court. Like, I don't really do a lot of traffic offenses now just because I don't have time. But there's a lot of times where people will call me with a simple traffic case, and I will tell you how to handle it
Mhm,
because
mhm,
I want you to be protected. Even if I don't take the case or can't handle it or don't have the time, I will sometimes just tell you how to handle it, how to protect your rights. Because a lot of
mhm,
times people don't realize that pleading guilty to certain things like suspended license or a DUI or the hit and run charge or suspended registration. Pleading guilty to that suspends your license.
mhm,
Even pleading no to the suspended registration does. So
mhm,
it's those type of things where you need to get them to amend the charge, do certain things that an attorney would just know about. So Don't feel like you can just handle it. Get an attorney. If you're pulled over DUI, stop doing these tests. Please stop doing the tests. No, I don't care how much TV you've seen. You don't know how to pass the walk and turn. You don't know how to trick anybody on an HGN. You don't know how to do the one leg stand. Stop doing the tests. Okay, they're voluntary. I don't care how forceful the attorney sound. I mean, the officer sounds. They're voluntary field sobriety tests.
Mhm,
Don't do them. Do not give
mhm,
a sample of your blood, breath, or urine. If you end up arrested, call an attorney. Call me. If because then nothing you're gonna do is gonna get you out of it. I have clients all the time, like, oh, they're asking the officer the whole time, did I pass the test? Did I pass the test? Did I pass?
mhm,
You don't know how to pass something when you don't know what they're looking for.
mhm,
So don't do any of that stuff. Don't drink and drive, first off,
mhm,
to the point that you're a less safe driver. So let's start there. But if you happen to get pulled over and end up in a DUI investigation, don't do any of that stuff. Just
mhm,
let it flow and call me.
mhm,
What other cases can I be like, ugh? Weapons. So the gun laws, you can carry a weapon without a license. I like to tell people just kind of assume everyone is walking around with a loaded weapon. So gone are the days where you could just be checking people in the road rage situations or just, kind of talking crazy to
mhm,
kids, younger
mhm.
people. Like just kind of watch yourself because everyone is carrying these days. These kids have weapons, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's
And
really
on edge.
yes, and ready to use it. There's
Yes.
been cases where people have shot people because they jumped in their car mistakenly in the wrong car and they're just running out killing people. No questions are being asked. People are just shooting like 17-year-olds, 18, 16. I'm seeing it every day. So just behave that way. Just assume that so you can just, protect yourself. What else? That's all I can really think of right now. Probably I could go on another hour.
With
But
that,
it's like,
when I tell you, you have shared some valuable information that's going to save some lives, you have done that. And I am hoping that they will come to you in their time of need. So
yes.
if you want to, share your number and
Okay.
the name of the firm, the website.
All right. So it's the Adams Firm. The website is www.theadamsfirm.com. We're located by North Lake Mall off of North Lake Parkway. The address is 2302 Park Lake Drive, Northeast, Suite 458, Atlanta, Georgia, 30345. You can follow me on Facebook personally at Tiffany Phoenix Adams or the Adams Firm LLC. We just did an amazing branding shoot with photographer Andre Gerard, and I had a video done that you saw me post with Tiana Rose filmed. And so we got to do some marketing, rebranding. So the Facebook page is really quiet right now for the business but it'll ramp up soon. Instagram, I am at _Phoenix_rising with a Z underscore, or the Adams Firm. So yeah, you can follow me on TikTok at the Fit Lawyer Tiff. So that's kind of my thing. My fitness is very important. I'm gonna work out every day in the morning, about 5 days a week, 5 or 6 days a week. So that comes first, and then work, and I work all day, all night. But health is first. And yeah, I'm here. I love what I do, and I love to help people, and I just want to be able to help as many people as I can. So that
Yes.
is the goal.
Well, I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that you are just glowing all over the place. So thank you for being you, like
Thank you.
no one else can be.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that the audience will certainly take advantage of your services and your advice that you've shared tonight and your weight loss journey. Checking out Dr. Joe.
Yes.
Um, there's more in store. So
Yes.
we want to say thank you to you all for joining us this evening. We hope that something was shared that will be a blessing to you or that you can pass on to someone else. Please stay tuned for more informative shows with Life with Shenita. Anything related to life is what the conversation will consist of. So we thank you again. You guys have an amazing rest of your evening. And please like and share this broadcast.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for having me on the show. And thank you for everyone
Yes.
tuning in, all my friends and family. I see you all in the comments. Thank you so much for the love and
Yes.
support. And
They
have a
showed up.
great evening. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So hold tight, Tiff.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.